Hello and welcome to History of Dragon Ball. Today we are looking at the bad retcons in the Dragon Ball world. Firstly, last week we had a look at some of the retcons introduced in Dragon Ball that I personally consider as positive ones. So if you have not watched that video, please go and check it out first. But as for this video, not all changes that have been introduced can really be considered as good things. Maybe more just meddling for the sake of meddling. So of course, there are going to be some that have been received badly as well. So this week I thought it would be good to look at the other end of the spectrum and have a look at the retcons that personally I would consider that have had a negative impact on the Dragon Ball world. So let's jump into this list fairly gently, with one entry I am a little more on the fence about, but in the end it's ended up in the bad pile, and that is the Super Dragon Balls. The first we learn of the Dragon Balls is that the god of Earth has created them, which is then later changed to the Namekians created them, which is why when Kami and Piccolo were originally one, they had the ability to create them from some memory that existed in their head. And that is why after the fight with Nappa and Vegeta, they go to find the planet Namek, assuming that there could be more there. However, when it comes to Dragon Ball Super, we learn this is not quite the truth. We come to learn that the original set of Dragon Balls, or the Super Dragon Balls, were created by a being called Salama. Each of these balls were the size of a planet and possessed the power to grant any wish at all with no limitations, albeit this dragon could only grant one wish at a time. So what actually happened now is that at some point the Namekians found these Super Dragon Balls, broke off pieces of them, and then used these pieces to create their own. This is really a retcon I am on the fence about. I do like the idea that there is a more or powerful set of these balls, which is how a race like the Namekians came to learn this ability. It makes more sense to me that a god of some form would have been the one to invent these, not some mortal of, in some ways, pretty average race. But however, although I like the idea of the Super Dragon Balls more, the fact that they keep introducing more and more sets of Dragon Balls keeps reducing their importance to me. It used to be a bigger deal to summon a dragon, and how if the creator was destroyed, that they would turn to stone, and then this could be very damaging to the Z fighters that we were going on a journey with. Whereas now, it does not seem to matter at all, because you know that no matter what happens, there always seems to be just another set that they can go and find and really solve any problems. It just kind of reduces the impact and the importance of them all to me. But like with everything on this list, that part is just my personal opinion. So now, let's move on to the next one, and that is the Potara Fusion. Back in the days of Dragon Ball Z, we learn of fusion, which we learn there are two ways for characters to fuse. They can either perform the fusion dance and join together for a 30-minute period, or put on opposite Potara earrings and merge permanently. That permanently part is what made this other way far more of a big decision. Was the power boost so important that the two characters could no longer be separate beings? The risk of this is what creates an interesting dilemma in the Buu saga. Can Goku and Vegeta admit that they are desperate enough to pay the price of becoming one being for the rest of their lives? They end up believing that this is the only way, but the fused warrior Vegito is separated after being absorbed into Buu's body. And Goku kind of half says that this is because of something to do with the atmosphere inside the evil that is Buu, which, although may seem a bit random, people can get on board with. And after this point, Vegeta vows to never put on the earrings again. However, this does all get retconned in Dragon Ball Super, when realistically the reason they wanted to do this was to be able to bring back a fan favourite character. Now we come to learn here that this form of fusion is not permanent at all. No, it is only permanent if at least one of the people in the fusion is a god of some form. Therefore, for the likes of Goku and Vegeta, this form of fusion will actually only last 1 hour. This retcon I would definitely put under the bad list, as it just introduces a get out of jail free card permanently for the future. If there is ever an issue and they need that all-powerful warrior, they will always have the option of the Potara earrings, knowing that it is not permanent. Yes, they will try and keep using the excuse of the characters being too proud to do it, but at the end of the day, if the threat is that bad, then we always know that it is still an option. It also was a bit out of nowhere, as originally it was the old Kai who introduces this method. So to act like he didn't know this when he first introduced them really does create a plot hole just to go with this retcon. The only upside I could potentially have seen to this is that we might be able to see other fusions in the future. But personally, I'll not hold my breath on these because they are not likely to involve Goku or Vegeta. People have always liked the idea of, for example, a future Trunks and Gohan fusion, but like I just said, I think that's all just a bit of fanfiction. So now, let's move on from this one, and with the next one being a bit more of a less important one, and that is with Saiyan Hair growth. Going back to Dragon Ball Z again, we learned from Vegeta, after he had been training in the Hyperbolic Time Chamber, that a pure-blooded Saiyan's hair never changes. Maybe a bit of a random trait, but it at least explains why Goku's hair has never changed at all. However, this does get changed in Super, after Goku and Vegeta spend 3 years inside the chamber, where, when they emerge this time, they both have beards. But not even long beards, just short ones. Since the Saiyans were originally said to never change their hair at all, it's hard not to feel like the continuity was just kind of sacrificed for a cheap visual gag for when they appeared. So this one is barely a point worth looking at too much at all, but to me it's just an instance of changing something in the lore without really a good reason to do so. So moving on again, let's look at all of Dragon Ball GT. Now Dragon Ball GT is met with very mixed feelings from fans. More would probably think negatively than positively about it, as it did like to forget parts of canon itself and go into its own way of doing things just that little bit too much. And although technically Dragon Ball Super happens between when Z ends and when GT starts, it's hard to see it staying canon. Yes, they have shown cameos from the likes of characters of Oob and Bulla, perhaps suggesting Super will end where GT takes off, but there are strong points that go against this as well. While Dragon Ball Super may not directly contradict or overwrite Dragon Ball GT, at least yet, it is ridiculous to think that additions such as Beerus, or the other universes, or the Angels, or even the god-related transformations would have existed in GT, but not be mentioned at all. It just doesn't make sense to even try and keep it canon to me. In my opinion though, the way that they have done this is just a bit confusing and weak. They either need to say outright that GT is 100% definitely not canon, and Super is replacing it, or they need to say GT is canon and just get past that timeline. I've said it in previous videos and I will say it again. When at this point we are pretty sure that the end of Z and GT might still be canon, there is a severe lack of tension in pretty much everything that happens. We know at the end of the day, Goku is going to be alive to train Oob. So realistically, at the stage when they started Super, they should have either said, this is replacing the end of Z and GT, or worked it in a different way. We know that whatever threat comes up, Goku will be alive at the end of it. So this is why I'm putting this retcon in the bad list, as it's almost not retconned enough. Now moving on again, we go to another bit of a random one, and that is, again, going back to Saiyan Hair of all things, and that is with future Trunks' hair. Now this is, like I said, one of the weirder entries. We have future Trunks' continuously changing hair colour throughout the series. We get everything from purple to blue to red to grey, and you may wonder, is it really that hard to be consistent with something as simple as this? Or is there a reason for it? After all, Super reintroduced him again with blue hair, not the purple hair that we knew from Z. And I wish there was a good reason for it, but it's simply just an inconsistency in the colouring of him. Nothing more, nothing less, just inconsistency. So this one I'm just putting down to laziness more than anything. So I think it is worth moving quickly on to our last entry in this video today, and that is with the Super Saiyan Tingles. The first time that Goku turns Super Saiyan is one of, if not the most legendary moment in all of anime history. This transformation sequence is one of the most iconic moments of Dragon Ball Z, and it's basically what put it on the map. It's always been considered that once a Saiyan reaches a certain level of power and a deeply emotional event happens, such as the dying of a best friend, this will trigger the spark that transforms them into the golden-haired warrior considered to be what is a legend. Then we fast forward to Dragon Ball Super, and Vegeta teaches Kaba of Universe 6 how to achieve this transformation, who then in turn teaches the method of achieving this technique to Caulifla. However, something got changed here. Caulifla's anger alone was not working, so Kaba instead described this tingling sensation that supposedly occurs on the back when changing form, and upon receiving this advice, Caulifla is immediately able to transform into a Super Saiyan for the first time. This one is without a doubt in the bad section of Retcons. Not only does this explanation just come out of nowhere, it also turns what was once an intimidating and legendary Super Saiyan transformation to some sort of weird feeling experience. It 100% takes away from what is one of the coolest moments in anime, and to me, it just reduces its impact a bit. I wish they really would have never done this and instead just found something that would have motivated Caulifla better. She just needed that deeply emotional event, not some tingly back feeling. So the less said about this feeling, the better. And that is where I will end things for today. So that is at least my personal opinion on the bad retcons that have been introduced in Dragon Ball. So I'm curious to know from you, are there more negative retcons you would have added to this list? Or are some of these ones I've considered as bad you would actually have considered as good instead? Please let me know all of your thoughts and opinions on these in the comment section below. And now that we have finished going over all of the retcons, I would like to thank you if you've managed to reach the end of this video with me, and I will see you next time on History of Dragon Ball.